it's golden. This is exactly what we wanted to discuss.
Cool.
So I'd just like to formally welcome you. We've got Ricardo Katza here, ex-Bafana Bafana, ex-SuperSport player, and he's made his transition into coaching. Working at Grey College, and you were at SuperSport, I think, before Grey College.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to pick up where I interrupted you, speaking about soccer at Grey College and the way it's on the up, and how you see the future of the sport at the school.
Yeah. Good day to everyone else that have joined. I think I see Kamva and Zanele and is it Dian and Tazin and Terry and Manala. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just pronouncing the names. And I see all you guys. Good day, everyone. I hope we'll have a good session. Like I say, a lot of the things that I'm going to say is my opinion. It's not fact. It's not like the start and the end of it. I'm just going to say what my experience is and what I've experienced coming from a professional setup, which I started in 1998. I started playing professional football. 2012, I retired. And then from 2012 to April 2018, I was coaching at the SuperSport United Academy. There's a player there at the school at St. David's, Pella. I don't know, you know Pella, yeah.
Yeah, he left. He matriculated last year, yeah.
Yes, very good player. He's not fancy, but those are the type of players that excites me because he's a hard worker. He knows he doesn't have a lot of the qualities that other kids have, but the one thing he has a good attitude. And sometimes as coaches, we look for those players that we can work with. We don't look for the players that knows everything, you know. It makes it difficult, but you'll have that one or two that knows everything. You leave them in the team. But I prefer what you call a B player. So a B player is someone that he doesn't have all the qualities that the top player has. But let me make a perfect example. The A players is your Messi, is your Ronaldo's, is those ones that you can't touch, and then you have the B players, which is Vidal. Vidal for me is a B player, the one who plays for Barcelona. He's a hard worker. You don't see that you don't notice him, but when there's a tackle, he's there. He scored the other day. They won 1-0. So those are the type of players that I would like to have in my team, obviously. Coming from SuperSport, sorry, Luke, I'm just going to talk, Clinton, I'm just going to talk. Is that fine?
Definitely, go.
And then any questions, you guys can just stop me and just ask me. Coming from SuperSport and making the big move to Grey, I had a lot of expectation about the quality of the football, because I remembered when I got to Grey, there was a trip to Dubai. There was about 6 of our boys that was going on the trip, and I thought to myself, wow, you've got 6 boys that's going to Dubai, so it must be the best place in the school. Just to find out that it wasn't actually the best players, it was just players that whose parents could afford for them to go on to one of these trips. There was 1 or 2 good players. So when they came back, I wanted to see them because I didn't see them play. When I got there, they left. So when they got back from Dubai, obviously, if you have 6 players that goes to Dubai, you want them to be in your first team. And to be honest with you, there was 2 of the 6, 2 or 3 of the 6 that was quality that I expected to be in the first team. And then my thinking about school football changed because I remembered my first year in April when I started there. I did a simple passing drill, a passing drill that we did with the under 13s at SuperSport, and it's a simple drill, and the first team players couldn't do it, and I was so disappointed because I thought that they were on a good level, just to find out that they were not. So I had to drop my standard of, coming from a professional setup into a school. And I realized that the football in the school has always been there, but they haven't really taken it serious. It wasn't something that they really. Yes, you had your Mabasa came through. You had those players coming through, but it wasn't really a sport that was driving the school. So at first, I found it very, very difficult to be at the school because, um, like I said, I believe that football is one of the biggest sports in South Africa, in Africa, and even in the world. And the school like Grey, football was like the number 10 sport in the school. So you so you had all these other gumboots and all these other things was ahead of football. And I was actually surprised, you know. You had squash and table tennis. No disrespect to the other sports, but you know, a sport like football, um, it has to be up there as one of the top sports in the school. So um, when I got to the school, I gave them a 5-year plan. I decided to pick the best players, whether they were 14 or 15, and I put them in the first team. And I gave the school a 5-year plan. 2 years later, the 5-year plan became a 2-year plan because everything that I said in the 5 years that was going to happen happened in 2 years. And for that, I'm so grateful because I remember when we came to the St. David's tournament, the first year, I think it was 2018, we lost in the final. We lost in the final. I can't remember who we played against, but we lost in the final in 2018 with our first team. So I decided that if I want football to grow in Grey, we're gonna have to put certain things in place. One of my biggest, I won't say concerns, but one of my biggest things was I wanted the coaches to get qualified. We've got about 14 coaches in the school, primary and high school, and then what I made sure was I called Safa, I gave them the facility. I said to them, listen, I've got 4 fields here. We've got a clubhouse. You can use it for free. All I want is that you must do a D license course, a SAFA D license. So what I did was I took out 14 coaches. I invited another 15 coaches from all the schools around Bloemfontein. And I can proudly say today that I've got everyone that's working in the school is qualified as at least as a D license coach. So I think that's important that if you want to take a sport like football serious on school, you need to have the right people in place. You know, you have to have people that's qualified, people that understands the game. You know, you can't have a coach that wants to win every game at under 8 because then he's not going to give everyone a chance to play. He's just going to play the biggest boys and the boy that can travel through the whole team. And that is something that I'm still working on, that I'm trying to change. We were still playing at under 8 and under 10. We were still playing 11v11 on the full size field, and it doesn't work. You know, so that I've changed as well. So we're playing half a field now. We play across the field, and we play 7-a-side. So we've got a lot of games going on. So yeah. So I'm trying to change things as I go along. I'm not trying to invent the wheel again. I've done a lot of things that I've done at Supersport. I'm doing it at Grey at the moment. So yeah, I'm trying to unify the school. We are sponsored by Umbro. Yeah, when I got to the school, someone was already busy with the Umbro deal. But then the primary school had Puma and the high school had Umbro, but we were on one facility. So I said to them, it can't be like that. So I can also proudly say that we are currently sponsored by Umbro. We've got a 3-year contract, and our first team, our under 13 A's in the primary school, get exactly the same kit as the first team in the high school. So that's something quite nice for me. Our first team coach also coaches under 9. Our goalkeeper coach works both in the primary school and the high school. So I'm trying to unify the sports because that's what rugby is doing. That's what the cricket is doing. That's what the hockey was doing. They unify the sport, you know. So I don't scout for a lot of players because we don't have space for football players in the school that comes on scholarships. I brought in 2018. I brought Lesedi Mokoena. He's a goalkeeper from Brebner. I saw him the first 5 minutes we played against them, and then I brought him to the school on a football scholarship. And apparently, that's the first boy in 163 years that came on a football scholarship to the school. So yeah. The good thing was that he got player of the tournament. He came to the school in 2018 in May, and then when we played the Ensign tournament in June, July, he got player of the tournament and goalkeeper of the tournament. So it justified him coming to the school. We're paying for his studies and all those
Yeah.
things. But not everyone is going to be a Lesedi Mokoena. And that's where we fall short in the football in the school, because you have rugby that's got 100 kids that stays in the hostel and they all play rugby. You can't compete with that. So I've become a little bit clever. So what I do is, whenever someone applies to the school for football, I say to them, don't apply for football, apply for athletics or cricket or whatever. And then once you're in the school, then you can come and play football. Because if you're only going to do football, they're not going to say yes. And that's just what the school has been all about. It's not a football school. So yeah, that's I don't know if is there any questions? Is there anything else that you want to ask me?
Well, I think just from the outside looking in, I can definitely see those changes in the way all the great teams play. It used to be the case that the first team might be really competitive, but I never saw a competitive under 15 or under 16 team. And now I know that those teams are also they're very powerful. And yeah, I think it's just a testament to what you've done at the school already. Can you maybe touch on, now you've got a coach's and a player's perspective for those boys that they have aspirations of being a professional? What is the main difference in like making the step up just in a practice, in a school practice versus a professional practice, and then a school match versus a professional match? What is the difference there?
The biggest difference between school football and academy football on a professional level is the intensity. The higher you go, the smaller the space become. So you must be fitter, you must be stronger, your mind must be switched on. I think that's the difference between academy football and school football, because at school you come to school and you have schoolwork to do from 8 till about 1 o'clock, and then you've got a hour break, and then you come and you still have extra classes and all those things. When it comes to academy, when it comes to a professional academy, when we get you at 2:30, you know that for the next 2.5 hours, whatever we're going to do, it's going to be intensive. It's going to be, you're going to have to fight, you're going to have to pass the ball properly, you're going to have to receive the ball properly. I remember when I was at Supersport, every Friday, from under 13 to the MDC team, which was under 21, we would do the same training session that the first team is doing the day before their match. So we would replicate the training session, because at the academy, what needs to happen is you need to prepare the kid for that one day that you will play in the first team. So now you're already starting at under 13. So and the biggest difference is also the mentality. Professional football or academy football, your mindset has to be different. It's not just the 2 hours that you're training, it's what you do after training, it's what you do before training. Just an example that I want to make. In 2018, when I got to Grey in March, I went down earlier and we had trials. And then I was just standing and I was just observing, because I didn't know how things was working. Anyways, so the boys were playing, and then the one boy tackled the other boy, or he kicked him. And then one of the teachers says, "No, we don't play like that. We don't kick each other." And I just looked at him. I turned around and I looked at him. And this is what I said. I said to the boys, I said, "If you come without shin pads tomorrow, you will not train." And everyone just looked at me. They thought I was making jokes, whatever. Anyways, next day came. 3 of the so-called best players came without shin pads. I said to them, "Where's your shin pads?" They said, No, we forgot it." I said, "Please get off the field." And the minute I said get off the field, everyone, all of a sudden, and then I explained it to them. I said to them, when you go onto the field as a professional player, if you don't have shin pads, that's a yellow card. They're going to give you a yellow card because you don't have the right equipment. I said, 1 minute into the game, you make a silly foul, that's the second yellow card, and that's a red card. Now you're going to cost the team, because we're going to play one man short, and So I was trying to explain to them why it's important to have sunbeds, and also it's to protect yourself. I mean, if you're gonna write a test in class, you're gonna make sure that you've got a good quality pencil. You're gonna have a good pen, blue or red, whatever. You're gonna have a ruler. You're gonna have a calculator. Why do you come to the football field and then you don't have sunbeds? you but if I ask you where your phone is, no, coach, my phone is in my bag. And then I said, oh, where's your sunbeds? It's at home, coach. So it doesn't make sense, and I think that's a difference also between school and professional football as well. The other thing that I've learned is that because the kids comes to school, the parents pay for the school fees. So you as a coach, you must play the boy, or you must coach them. And when you go to a professional academy, you don't pay to play. You don't pay to get coached. The coaches are getting paid by the club. So your parents don't have to pay a single cent for you. Now your ability needs to talk. And I think that's where a lot of the boys get it wrong when they go from school to professional football, because now all of a sudden, your parent can't just walk onto the field like they do when we do it at school. Your parent can't coach you from the side. All of a sudden now you are being told by the coach. I always say that, um, I always ask the boys, especially the new ones, I say, if you want to cut your hair, do you go to your father or do you go to the barber? And a lot of them will say, no, coach, we go to the barber. So then I say, then why, when you come to the football field, you want your father to coach you and you don't want the coach? I said, in this situation, the coach is the barber because he knows what he's doing on the field. And I want to encourage the boys, whoever is listening, when you learn now already while you're still on school, learn that, listen to the coach, because the higher you go in your career, the more money they pay you, the less you are being coached. Because now we pay you as a professional so that you can bring what you have. The reason why we brought you to the club, so that we can have that's in your mind, so you can bring it to the club. You can see, when you watch European football, you don't see the coach standing there for 90 minutes and coaching everyone. He manages the team. He tells you before the game, he tells you at halftime, and then he tells you at training. Unlike at school you have to tell boys all the time, stand here, my boy. Yes, coach. A minute later, he's on the other side. Stand here. Yes, coach. So while you're still in the academy, while you're still in school, you need to learn to listen to the coach, because the higher you go, the more money we pay you, but the less you are being coached. Because what they do is, that's why you'll see in South Africa, it's called coaches, and in Europe, it's called managers, because the
Yeah.
coach in Europe, he manages you. He doesn't coach you a lot. He manages you because we pay you as a professional. Here in South Africa, you have guys that's on 500,000 a month and they still want to be coached for 90 minutes. That's why some of us don't make it, because we don't coach ourselves. We don't listen to the coach, but it all starts on school. I encourage the boys, when they're at school. I say, rather go, if you're doing grade 12 or from grade 10, 11, and you know that you're an excellent student, and you get good marks, go apply for the university, because you'll play from 17, 18 to 19. You'll have 3 years or 4 years and then you'll have an education. You'll have a better mindset when it comes to training. You will listen more because you've learned in university or technical and whatever. You've learned to look after yourself, and I think that's important for our kids to understand. Um, Boys, I just want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. If you ask me, Coach Ricardo, if you can go back and play a game again, um, or if you can go back and go to school again, which one will you choose? I would gladly go back to school, because I understand now, at the age of 42, how important my schooling was. If I was better at school, I would have been a better football player, because I would have worked better with my money. I would have worked better with my game. I would have just been better. I know not everyone is strong academically, but if you have that ability to do well at school and to play football, then don't lose the one for the other one, because you're gonna need it as you go along. You come out of school, you 17, 18 years old, you sign a contract, and all of a sudden, going from the monthly uh, 200 rand your parents give you, Now you go to 20,000 rand a month. Now you don't know what to do. Now you don't know what to do with your money. And I know there's a good example. The boy who played for Kaizer Chiefs, I think his name is Wiseman. He signed his professional contract. He was 18 years old. Signed a 3-year contract. 6 months later, he bought a GTI. 2 months later, he's in a wheelchair. So he was the next big thing. But because he didn't know what to do with his money, bought himself a GTI because he thought that was the right thing to do. Now today he's in a wheelchair. He's 19 years old. He's in a wheelchair. So it's important that we look after ourselves. You know, professional football is not just the 2 hours, like I said earlier. It's 24 hours. It's what you do before the game. It's what you do when you come to training. It's what you do after the game. You know, you can't tell professional footballers or whatever that they can't drink. They can drink. They're gonna drink anyways. But when do you drink? You can't drink 2 nights before a game. It's not gonna work. You know, rather wait a little bit, play the game, recover on a Saturday, drink on Sunday, because then you have enough time to recover. But now for us to tell kids, no, you're not supposed to drink, they're gonna drink anyways because they're gonna get the money. We're not gonna tell them what to do with their money. So what we can do is we can encourage them to drink at a certain time. Or, you know, now it's easy. Instead of driving with your car, being drunk, get an Uber. Let Uber take you to wherever you need to be. You know, those are small things that can make or break your career. Now imagine the boy Wiseman that's in a wheelchair today. Imagine whatever he did, and he asked for the Uber to take him somewhere and bring him back. He would have still been here today. We would have still seen him, but probably went out drinking, whatever, in the new GTI, and he made an accident, and today he's in a wheelchair. And it's so sad because a lot of our boys are in that situation. So it's important for us as coaches to encourage the boys, but it's not our responsibility to make choices for them. The kids must make their own choices.
I think you discussed the training before match day, and that different teams do the same thing.
Yeah.
What do you do as a coach now? I'm asking you, before your last practice before a match day, what do you focus on, and what do you do on the day before match day in practice?
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about what we do at Grey. Is that right? You want to know what we're doing at Grey? So we train on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, and on a Friday, and then on a Wednesday, the first team boys, they go to the gym. So the Monday we've put aside for schoolwork, and the Wednesday we've put aside for schoolwork. So on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So what we do on a Tuesday, we don't have goalkeepers on a Tuesday. So what we do is we give all the age groups under 13, under 14, under 15, under 17, and our first team, we give the goalkeepers to the goalkeeper coach. So on a Tuesday, we basically just work on individual one-on-ones, one player or two players with one ball, mostly technique and passing. And then on Thursday, we also don't have the goalkeepers for the first 45 minutes. And then only towards the end of the session, we have the goalkeepers. And then on a Friday, what we do on a Friday, we do the same thing. So we do a pattern of play. And this is what I've learned at Super Sport. So what we do is we take four mannequins and we put it in a position like a back four. And then we take our teams and we put them in the shape that we're gonna play. And then we just do the shape. We do crossing and finishing, and then we do set pieces. So that's standard on a Friday. If you come to Grey, you will see everyone will do the same thing. From under 13, straight through to the first team. So what I've done is we've got a 6-week program. So the first 2 weeks we do defending. So we do defending for the whole week. And then when we come back the next week, we do defending. And then week 3, we do transition from defending to attacking. So we'll be defending and then you attack. And then week 4 and 5 we do attacking, and then week 6 we do transition from attack to defense, and then week 7 becomes a neutral week, and then we start again the same week 1 again we do defending again. So it's a 6-week cycle. But on the Friday, we all do the same thing. We do pattern of play, we do crossing and finishing, and we do set pieces.
Does everyone at Grey, all the teams play the same formation and the same shape?
The only team that's allowed to play different from everyone else is the first team. So the first team is allowed to play around with 2 or 3 formations. But under 13s to the under 17s, we all play the same way. We play with the goalkeeper, we play with the back 4, we play with 1 holding midfielders and 2 number 10s. We play with wingers, and then we play with the top striker. So everyone plays the same. But the only team that's allowed to change is the first team.
And I mean, even in that, like that's kind of a Barcelona way that you're speaking about. But can some coaches then say, like that their number 9 is then going to play as a false 9, or their wingers are going to like drop more, or is that right?
Yes. So the other thing that they're allowed to do is, instead of playing with 2 number 10s, they can play with 2 holding midfielders. So you change the triangle around in the middle. But then what you can also do is you can play with 2 strikers.
Yeah.
So then we play a diamond in the middle. Yeah. So I'm not that strict about it, because what I don't want to do as the so-called leader of the football at Grey, I don't want to restrict the coaches, because I still believe that coaches need to bring their own philosophy. They need to bring their own attitude. They need to. I don't want to give coaches a training session and say you must do it like this. No, because then I might as well coach all the teams, and I don't want that. I think coaches needs to grow. They bring their own flavor to the school, to the teams. The one thing that I don't want at the school at the moment is that when someone says, "Yeah, that team plays like Ricardo's team," I don't want that. I want them to say that team plays like Coach Luke's team. That team plays like Coach Clinton's team. It must be, your identity must be on the team.
Fantastic. I think I've asked all the questions I want to ask. So if there are any boys that want to ask, or if Clint wants to ask something, and then if someone else is asking a question you want to ask Nest, just type it in the chat.
So, Ricardo, I think the question that I have for, and it's more from the point of view of the boys, is you get these 15, 16-year-old boys that are like excellent footballers, and they like have aspirations of becoming a professional. And what advice could you give them to kind of making that like next step up and really putting something in place to try and really get to that level? And on the other side, if they do get to a point where they aren't good enough, how would you respond, or what advice could you give them if they really aren't getting to where they want to be?
Again, like I said earlier, thanks for that question, Clinton. Like I said earlier, when you're 14 and 15 years old, and you want to, you've decided that you're gonna go and you want to become professional or whatever. The first thing that you must understand is that you're still at school. I think, and I'm not trying to be funny or difficult or whatever. You have to understand that you're still at school, and if you don't make the top team in the school, it's going to be very difficult for you to make a top academy at the age of 17 or 16 or whatever, because if you look at the MDC teams now, MDC is under 23 or under 21 now. They've made it under 21. Currently SuperSport United, their youngest player in the MDC team is 15 years old. He's a left-sided centre back. He's 15. So if you're gonna have to step up, it's like I said, it's just the mindset. You have to change your mindset, because when you go from 15 to 16 to 17, you should have already let go of your parents. You know those things that our parents are doing for us. They're packing our bags for us. They're putting in energies for us. They make sure that our boots is polished. Those are things that you have to do because that's what professional football is all about. You have to basically look after yourself. So my encouragement to the boys is change your mindset from, you know what, I really want to make this thing work for myself. I believe in hard work. You know, you need to work hard for what you want. You can work hard and also be clever. You know, I'm not saying that you must work yourself into the ground. But if you want to make it as a professional footballer, you have to work hard. Messi works hard. Ronaldo works hard. You might not see it. We watch the game. You watch Juventus. You see Ronaldo walking when everyone else is pressing, whatever. Ronaldo works hard. You don't score so much goals if you don't work hard. So it's important that that you make that mind, that you have to change your mind. And when it comes to training, remember when you're 15, 16 years old, you start to train to compete. So now you go from I'm just playing football to now I want to win. Because professional football, it's all about winning. It's not about no, it's fine, we can draw here. No, professional football, it's about winning, it's about the results. There's nothing else. You know, so you have to be on top of your game and have a mentality that I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna lose. I'm 42 years old. And I don't care if you're 12. My boys is 12 and 8 years old. I don't lose against them. They know whatever game I play, whether it's in the yard, whether it's on TV, whether it's a FIFA game, I don't lose. I don't lose against them because that's my nature. I want to win. And a professional footballer, you're gonna want to win. If you don't want to win, then someone else is gonna take your place. There's only 11 players that can play. So if you want to be a professional, you have to be one of those 11. You really have to put the effort in. So that's my advice, Coach Clinton. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm happy. So I think who was next to ask a question? Was it Common or Manala had a question? I don't know if you can see it there, Ricardo, and then we'll get to Common. It says, are professional clubs lenient with youngsters who wish to study at university? So I'm not sure if he wants to know if you're in a professional setup, will the club allow you to go and complete your studies, or I think that's probably the question that he's trying to ask.
Yeah. So can I talk from my experience at SuperSport? Because then I can answer. Then I can answer yes. So what happens at SuperSport if you're 15 and they've identified you as the next professional player. So what happens is they will take you to their house. They've got a house, so you will go there. You will go to school. They'll put you in school. Once you've graduated from the academy, SuperSport. Just to make an example, SuperSport has got a deal with Boston College. So what happens is they will set you up for you to study, but now you can't be a full-time student. That's the only thing, because you'll find that you maybe excel in your football, and then all of a sudden the first team trains at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now the coach in the first team wants you to come to training. You can't say no, but I have schooling. Then it's not going to work. So online or part-time, yes, they will help you, but you can't be a full-time student. I think if you wanna be a full-time student and play football, you must go to university. But you can't be at a professional club and be a full-time student and play professional football, because most of the training takes place in the morning. You have your gym session at 8 o'clock. You've got your training that starts at 9 or 10 o'clock, and then you've got training in the afternoon as well. So Manala is in Manala. So if you're a youngster, what SuperSport does is they usually they call it the gap house. It's a gap house. So you just stepped out of the academy. They put you in a house where there's kids that's your age and who also wants to study, but it will all be part-time and online. So they are lenient, but not for full-time students. So if you want to be at the university and still play, you would rather go to the university. Don't go to a club, because I can tell you now what's going to happen. 6 months down the line, the club is going to tell you, you have to choose between your studies or playing professional football. And you know what you're going to choose. You're going to choose to play football. So rather go, for me, my advice to you is rather go and to a university.
Thanks, sir.
No problem.
I think, Carmen, you can ask your question.
Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, Carmen. How are you?
Good news, sir.
Good, thank you, sir.
What inspired you to become a professional?
This is not a lie. I never wanted to be a professional football player. I just want to be honest with you. In 1995, I was in matric. I finished school. I grew up on the Cape Flats. So then for 2 years, or I think it was from 1994, there's a thing about Cape Town. When you grow up on the Cape Flats, it's either you become a gangster or you become a sportsman. So, but for 3 years of my life, I started experimenting with drugs, with alcohol abuse. I was a gangster. I used to rob people. I never killed anyone. I just want to put it out there. Never killed anyone, so you guys can relax. And then for 3 years of my life, I didn't have any ambitions. Honestly, I quit football when I retired. I always say I retired when I was 14. And then I started again when I think I was 18 years old. 18 or 19, I just started playing social football again. And then in 1997, I started working for the city council. And then in 1998, what happened was Seven Stars at Ajax Cape Town. It used to be Seven Stars. They were training in Cape Town. And then my uncle Ricardo Katza, he drove past. He stopped. He got out of the car. He went to Gavin and he says, Coach Gavin, I've got a player for you. I didn't know. He said, he got a player for you. And anyways, at that time, I was playing for the church. I was playing striker. I was scoring like 36 goals a season anyways. But I never wanted to be a football player. I want to be honest with you, Common. I never wanted to be a football player. Anyways, what I didn't say is in December 1996, I became born again. I gave my heart to Jesus. And that's where things changed for me. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I stopped being a gangster and all those things. And then I remembered I went on a Saturday morning. I went as a striker. I didn't even touch the ball. And then amazingly, Coach Gavin Hunt invited me back to come back on the Monday. He said that there's a game we're playing against Cape Town Spurs, and he wanted me to play in the midfield. I played against, I don't know if you guys know David Matisse. If you remember him, he was one of the best midfielders that Africa ever had. I played against him. I marked him out of a game. I didn't know who I was playing against. And then on the Wednesday, I signed my first professional contract for 2,000 Rand a month. I was getting paid I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was to be a professional football player. So to be honest with you, I never wanted to be a football player. But 14 years later, I retired, played over 350 games, captained the national team for 19 games. I played 19 times for South Africa. I captained the team for 8 times. And I retired in 2012. I had a professional football career of a career that I never wanted. So for me, nothing inspired me because I didn't want to be a football player. I just thought I'll end up on the streets, I'll be a gangster, all those things. Grew up in very difficult conditions on the Cape Flats. But I said that Sunday morning when I came out to Jesus, then everything changed for me. So that's my inspiration. So I don't know if that answers your question, but but Common, to be honest with you, once I was in the game, once I realized that I could make a career out of football, I actually started working hard. I worked on my game. I used to stay after training. When everyone left, I used to stay for 2 hours. I used to to kick the ball into the net for 2 hours. That was at least 3 times a week. If you come to Bloemfontein now and you ask me to drive the ball into the net, I'll do that for you 20 times. And I'm 42 years old because it's something that I've learned. And this is for everyone now. I've learned that you have to find 3 things that you're good at. What I was good at passing, I was good at headering, and I was good at tackling. I could kick people the whole day, but in a good way, not fouling, in a good way. So those 3 things I focus on. I'm not a dribbler. I can't dribble. I can't do a lot of things, but those 3 things kept me in a 14-year football career. Took me to the national team because I knew I was good at those 3 things. So that's why, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Before TT wants to ask his question, I want to ask about the national team. Where do you think things have gone wrong, and how can we fix it? I know it's a very complex situation, but what are your thoughts?
Again, this is my opinion. I raise my opinion, and whoever makes of it, whatever they make of it, that's their thing. For me, and I'm not just going to talk about the national team. I'm just going to talk about football generally in South Africa. What I've learned is, because I've been to Europe a few times, I went for trial in Germany. I didn't make it. But what I've learned about the European football and South African football, the difference is that in Europe, they take care of the football first, and then the football brings the business. Here in South Africa, we want to take care of the business, and we expect the business to bring the football. If I can make an example, if you guys know about the Carling Black Label Cup, it's a game that Chiefs and Pirates play every year. They get 500 million for one game, 500 million. If that was Europe, all 20 teams would have gotten the 500 million. But here you find that 2 teams gets 500 million. What about the other teams? So solely we put business ahead of the football. Now, my personal experience about the national team, coach, is that I remembered we played in the 2006 Cup of Nations in Egypt. The night before our first game, we were still awake at 12 o'clock at night discussing bonuses that we were going to get, and we playing the next day. Now, solely, we should have known a week before the tournament, this is what you're going to get for playing in the Cup of Nations. But the night before the game, we were talking about, I remember it was 3 of us or 4 of us, the so-called senior players. We were discussing bonuses that should have been dealt with long ago. So I just think my opinion about the national team, not even talking about development, not even talking about whatever, it's just that we're getting it wrong. We're putting business ahead of football, and it's not going to work. If you go to Holland, you'll find that from under 6 to under 19, everyone does the same thing. It doesn't matter what club you belong to. Everyone does the same training sessions. It looks the same. It's about keeping possession, the ball. Here you find the one academy does its own thing, the other academy does it. So now we come to the national team, and we expect the players to all do the same thing. But in the development, they were all doing different things. So for me, where we get it wrong in the national team, it's because we're getting it wrong way before the kids gets to the national team. And also, the administration side of things, it's not working. But anyways, that's something that I don't really want to get into, but that's my opinion about it.
TT wants to ask about goalkeepers. Go, TT.
Good afternoon, sir. Wanted to ask, how much does size and height go into taken into account when choosing a side for academy and first team level? So academy as in above under 19. So.
Yeah. Okay, so you're asking me about goalkeepers, right? What should be the characteristics, so to say, the physical ability when you come to the academy? So you must also understand that there's different types of goalkeepers. You have your tall goalkeepers, and then you have your smaller ones. Now, for me, if you're gonna be a small goalkeeper, you're gonna have to be dynamic. You're gonna have you're gonna have to able to jump higher than everyone else. Obviously, you want someone in goals that's gonna have presence. When they set pieces, you want a goalkeeper that's gonna come out and but I don't want to go into that because goalkeeping department is very specific. So that's why we have goalkeeper coaches. Because me as a coach, I can say one thing, but the goalkeeper coach can see something else. When it comes to goalkeepers, it's about the handling, it's about the positioning, it's about the communication, it's about taking leadership when it's set pieces. So there's a lot of things that goes into being choosing a goalkeeper for your team. It's also now, if you look at European football, you see most of the goalkeepers they playing on the circle of the halfway line because the team plays in the other half. If you look at Liverpool, if you look at Man City, their centre backs is playing on the halfway line. So now you find that the goalkeeper is playing way outside the box. And I don't think that we have a lot of keepers that can do that because goalkeepers is not used to having the ball at their feet for so long. But now, if you want to be a modern goalkeeper, a TT, you're gonna have to um, you're gonna have to look at what's happening in the world today. What does goalkeepers do? You'll see a lot of the play starts with the goalkeeper. Um, you have those goalkeepers that can play with the ball the whole day, and then you have those goalkeepers that just kicks the ball the whole day. So you have to decide which type of goalkeeper. I don't think, yes, it does make a difference, the height, but I don't think that should be the start and the end of wanting to be a goalkeeper. I think goalkeeper is specialized. They say a lot of goalkeepers is mad, and they eat the most. So I don't know if that's the truth, but but anyways, the goalkeepers that I've played with in my career, like your Andre Arendse, he's a tall guy. Ronwen Williams, Dennis Nyango. Um, then you have a goalkeeper like Calvin Marlin, who wasn't the biggest, but Calvin Marlin could take the ball from the penalty area and throw it into the next area, into the other side of the field. He couldn't kick the ball as far, but he could throw because he was very strong at top. So goalkeeper for me, a TT, it's very specialized. So I think the goalkeeper would have more to say on goalkeeping. But for me, also, if you want to be a goalkeeper, it's also a decision that you have to make. If you know that you're good with your hands, you get those that's good with handling, you get the shot stoppers, you get the ones that can play, so it's different. But for me, I always encourage the boys, what is the world doing at the moment? What is the world trend in goalkeepers? And if we look at it, it's a goalkeeper that can play with the ball at his feet, that can contribute to the attack of the team, that can start if you look at the goal that Mo Salah scored against Man United, it came from the goalkeeper. He caught the ball, he serviced the ball, one touch, two touch, the ball was in the net. That's the type of goalkeeper that they're looking for at the moment. Someone that can start an attack because I hear a lot of people say, if you ask them what formation do they play, TT, then they say 4-3-3. And then I say, so why are you playing with 10? And then they says, no, there's 11. I said, no, but you didn't mention the goalkeeper. It should be 1-4-3-3. It shouldn't be 4-4-3. Because a lot of us growing up, we didn't realize that the goalkeeper is actually part of the team. So the modern trend today is everything starts with the goalkeeper and everything ends with the goalkeeper. I hope that answers your question, Titi.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Coach Luke, I've got enough time for you. You guys must just let me know. I'm only you this afternoon. No one else.
Well, does anyone have any other questions for anyone? Maybe I can ask, you mentioned going
So
on
I have
trial.
a question, sir.
Okay, Terry, you ask.
All right, so I've watched the PSL for quite some years now, and I've noticed. So, do you think the reason why the level of quality of the PSL compared to the Premier League is so different because of the way, like, the end product of the ball, how the players think? Like, for example, in practice, players will go at each other and drill each other, but then during a game, the end product of the ball is not the same. So the midfielder will get the ball, skill a player, do some gassy flavor for like 2 minutes, then make the wrong decision, pass it into traffic instead of giving it into like a channel and looking for a channel.
Yeah. It's not 2 minutes. They actually keep the ball for 3 minutes and then they still give the ball away. But anyways, yeah, that's just by the way. Yeah, it's right what you said, Terry. If you I got the privilege to be coached by Stuart Baxter. And I will never forget the one day, one of the players, you know, we were pulling up, and then one of the players in the midfield stood on the ball. And I think it was about for 2 or 3 seconds, and then, or 5 seconds, and then Coach Stewart stopped the training session. He stopped everything. And we were surprised. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what's happening? You know, and then he said to the guy on the ball, he says, when you spend 5 to 10 seconds on the ball, he says it kills everything that the team wants to do. He says you have people that's running into positions that we've trained, we've got a pattern of play. Now you have a midfielder that stands on the ball. He waits for the crowd to shout at him or cheer him on, and then he gives the ball away. He says he kills, because if you give the ball away, they're going to punish you. If you look at the last couple of games that was played last night, I watched the game where they gave the ball away in the midfield and they went to score. So that's the difference between, again, like I said to you earlier, if you take care of the football, because that problem should have been fixed in the academy. That problem should have been fixed in the school already, about kids standing on the ball, Cassie flavor. I love Cassie flavor, but I don't love Cassie flavor at the expense of what the team is doing. You know, if it doesn't benefit the team, then Cassie flavor doesn't work. You know, you watch European football, they also do Cassie flavor, but their Cassie flavor always ends up with a goal, or it ends up as a shot on target or something. Yeah, our Cassie flavor ends up to the linesman or back to the goalkeeper. So, Terry, like I said again, the biggest difference is that in Europe they take care of the football ahead of anything else. If you look at strikers when they're around the box, around the penalty area, in Europe, they don't look at where the goals is. They know where the goals is. They don't have to look up. If you look at them, the minute they receive the ball, you can go to any top striker. Just watch them. They don't look up to where the goals is. They know where the goals is. Now, where does that come from? That comes from the training ground. Now you see they take free kicks. We saw David Silva's free kick the other night. You know, that comes from the training ground. What do we do a lot of times? And I'm not talking bad about us South African players, but what do? We don't practice free kicks. We come on a Saturday, there's a free kick, and you all of a sudden someone comes and he just wants to take it. He hasn't trained. He don't know what technique to use. He just kicks. So it's important, Terry, that that those things are being trained, because those are patterns of plays. You'll see in Europe, when someone goes down the line, you'll see if there's 1 or 2 people in the box, he will cross the ball. But if there's like 6 or 7 or 8 people, you always see them coming back, and then they'll start the build up again, and then they'll go to the other side. And if it's close there, in Europe, they're very patient. Terry, I was on a coaching course. I was doing my CAF A license, and we went to watch SuperSport played against Pirates. I don't know if you remember. It was a cup final, and SuperSport won 6-0. And we were watching the game because we had to analyze the game. And what happened was, Coach Stuart Baxter was the coach. What happened was, SuperSport was doing the same pattern of play over and over again. And one of the coaches the comment was, SuperSport is boring because they're doing the same thing over and over again. And then I said to them, watch the game. I said, keep watching the game. So what I've learned with Coach Stewart, because he comes from Europe, they're very patient in the build-up. They're patient. They do the same thing over and over. The one time Pirates didn't switch, SuperSport scored. And now what happened was they scored 5 more times, because SuperSport was doing the same thing over and over again. European football, if you look at the game, you'll see the pattern of play, it's over. They do the same thing over and over. That's why when the striker gets in front of the goals, he doesn't have to look up. He knows where the goal is because in training he has done it over and over and over again.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Afternoon, Coach. My
Afternoon.
question's about your time at Grey and
Yes.
just how you as a coach manage your team during tournaments like the St. David's tournament and the Grey tournament, particularly the mentality of the squad playing 3-4 games a day and the pressures of that and all of that.
Yeah. Is it what? How do you say your name? How do you pronounce your name? Is it
It's Dayan, Coach.
Dayan? Okay, Dayan. So what we do whenever we go into a major tournament, if we have 2 or 3 games in the tournament on the day, a month before the tournament, we set up our training session in such a way where a month before, 2 weeks before the tournament, we'll make sure that we'll play 2 or 3 games in one day. So, but we'll play it according to the time of our games in the tournament. So what we try and do is we try and get the body to respond to how the tournament is going to be, and we also get the mentality right of the players. So what we do is we'll take a Saturday. We will invite 3 teams. We will have a weaker team, a medium team, and a strong team. So then what we do is we let the boys come in at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll give them a small breakfast. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll play our first game. 10 till, say, because usually tournament games is 25 minutes a half. We play the game. We'll be done at about 11:15. We let them break for an hour or so. We give them fruits. We give them water. We play the next game. And later on, we play the last game. So we prepare them according to how the tournament will take place. That's how we prepare our team. So tournaments, it's more mental. You know, you have to be mentally strong. You have to be able to play 3 games in one day. So that's what we do with our teams. We prepare them as if it is a tournament, a month before the tournament. We also make sure that if it's the under 15s, if you I don't know if you guys remembered in the tournament, St. David's tournament last year, Grey's under 15, we played against Chepi. Chepi was unbeaten. I heard when we got there, they were the unbeaten under 15 team, and we beat them 4-0. We were not the best team, but we were prepared for that game because I think that was our second game of the day, second or third day of the game, second game, of the day. So what we do, we've got our first team at Grey, and we've got our under 15s and our under 13s. Those are our 3 top teams. So we take the best under 13 players, the best under 15 players, and the best first team players or under 19. And then whenever there's a tournament, we give them the best balls, we give them the best pubs, we give them the best water bottles, we give them the best field to train on. We make sure that team gets the best. And at the same time, we also make sure that because we've got 4 fields at Grey, one of the fields is not that good. It's the one closest. It's right at the back. There's a field in the corner. So then what we do is we make sure that
field, coach. We know it well.
we know it. Yeah. So what we do is we make sure that we have a training session on that field, and we make sure that we've got a game or 2 on that field. So we prepare them for whatever we think they would encounter in the tournament. So yeah, we try and prepare teams as well as we can. But on the end of the day, for me, when it comes to tournaments, is who wants it the most. Is the kid switch on, whatever. Oh, the other thing is that you're not allowed. That Saturday that I said that we get the 3 teams. You're not allowed to speak to your parents. Once you come into the change room at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, you're not allowed to speak to your parents for the rest of that day. So in between the games, you're not allowed to go to your parents. You're not allowed to get energized. You're not allowed to get anything because we will provide that for you on the day and in the tournament. So no one is allowed to go to their parents. They must sit together. They can walk around in 2s or 3s, but no one is allowed to walk on their own. No one is allowed to go to their parents because we're trying to get that tournament mentality. So that's what we do with our teams.
Thanks, coach.
No problem, sir.
All right, so I have one more question. So again, it's me, sir.
Keep going, Terry.
Yes, sir. Looking at the PSL again and the Premier League, so I've seen how the ball is passed. In the Premier League, it's lots of first-time passes, and here it's usually trap then pass. And I was wondering, sir, do you think that we should be taught from a young age when you get the ball, you should know where your pass is going, and we should make stricter rules when you're playing one-touch possession games?
Yeah, I've got a. Thanks for that question. I've just got one concern though. You must also remember that in Europe, their worst field is probably our best field here in South Africa. So it's important that you must also understand that if you look at Europe and you look at the quality of the fields, that makes a big difference in keeping the ball on the ground, having a first touch. You know, if you watch football, you watch European football, never have I seen a ball rolling to someone and then it bubbles up. Yeah, those are the things that you have to deal with. You have to, because we don't have the facilities. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. And I'm not trying to make excuses. But it's like you said, Terry, those are the things that we have to be taught from early. I always say, this is my philosophy when it comes to training kids, when it comes to passing drills. I say, I will allow you to make a mistake. You know, if you pass the ball to someone and you can see that he's doing the right thing, but the ball bubbles and it goes over, he's allowed to do that. But he's not allowed to, when the ball comes to him, he wants to do a trick and then he messes up and then he says, no, it is a mistake. That's not a mistake. Sorry to say this, but that's nonsense because he in his mind already knew what he was going to do. So for me, it must be trained growing up. They must teach you, yes, but at the same time, you must also be aware of what the environment is. How's the field? How's the surface? It's no use doing a passing drill on gravel or or on a field where you can't do a passing drill, you know. But it doesn't stop you from doing a passing drill. But in Europe, you can see all they do is they pass, they pass, they pass. The ball is on the floor. They pass, they pass, they pass because they can do that. Because from, like I said, from under six, the surfaces they play on, it's made for them to play football. So they take care of the football first. So until we get that right, it's not easy for our kids to have the technique. But again, for me, you have to train your technique all the time. So yeah, I think that's the difference, for my opinion, Terry. If that's the answer that you're looking for.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
No problem. I'm waiting for someone to tell me that I'm talking nonsense. Please, man, guys, don't don't take everything that I say. I like people that challenges me because, like I said, it's my opinion. I also like to listen to what someone else has to say because that's important as well. Because as much as I'm talking to you guys, I'm also learning. I'm also trying to learn from what you guys say. I'm open. I'm open to learning. I want to learn all the time. So yeah, tell me something that I don't want to hear and that I need to hear, please.
Coach, just one more about your time at Grey. From you competing with St. David's for the last few years at first team level, from the outside looking in, where do you think St. David's can improve their football to maybe get on the same sort of infrastructure level as Grey? Also, just wanted to remind you, last time Grey played St. David's football, we beat you. So, and first team, yeah.
I knew that one was coming, but it's fine. You know what? And I want to be honest, and I want to be straightforward. And this is what I've learned. SuperSport used to send me to scout at the Ensign tournament, and Grey was the host for like 10 years, whatever. But I never went to watch Grey because Grey they never played a football, or they never played football that I wanted to see. No one spoke about Grey. Grey was just happy to be the host of the tournament because if you're the host, you don't have to qualify. You're just there in the tournament, you know. For me, if I can encourage St. David's, and I'm not saying this is how it is, I'm telling you of what I did or what happened when I was at Grey. I said to the school when I got there, I said, you must stop just wanting to be the host. stop wanting to be the host. Because every time you're out in the first round, every time you don't make the knockouts, I said, stop being the host and start being a team in a tournament that wants to win the tournament. You know, it's a mindset change from being a host to wanting to win. Because, sorry, let's look at the World Cup 2010. South Africa was just a host. We were just happy to host and we were out in the first round. But if you look at Ghana, Ghana went to the semi-final. Ghana went almost all the way. Why? Because they worked, number one, to be there. They wanted to be in the tournament. They worked to be in the tournament. We were just happy that 2010 is here. We are in the tournament. That's it. You know, we should have gone at least to the next round. So that's my encouragement to St. David's. You know, go from being a host to wanting to win the tournament. I know we want to win the tournament, but everyone else that's in the tournament or everyone else that does the St. David's tournament must know that St. David's is in the tournament to win the tournament. You know, Gray, one of the reasons why Gray won the Nedbank is because I said to that coach, I said to him, Coach Tassa, the first team, I said to him, my man, if you don't win or if you don't get into the semi-final or at least a semi-final, I'm going to look for someone else that can coach this team. I said, I've given you a year, 2 years. It's more than enough. And I said to him, go from being a host to wanting to win it. And we won the tournament. It's the first time in 12 years that Grace hosted a tournament that we won the tournament. Now imagine you're the host for 12 years and you haven't won the tournament once. What does that say about your team? That you are happy just to be the host. So stop being happy from being the host of the St. David's and put your trophy. It's your tournament. It's your tournament. Your name should be on the trophy. I don't care who comes there, whether it's Gray or whoever, Jeppe or whoever. If Jeppe hosts a tournament, the winners of that tournament should be Jeppe or at least play in the final. I mean, who wants to come to St. David's tournament as a parent and not watch St. David's play in the final? I mean, come on, you want St. David's to play in the final. So go from being a host to wanting to win the tournament. That's what I did with Gray. That's what I said to them. Stop being the host. Go and win the tournament.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem. And also, just one thing, Coach Luke. Gray was going to go to the Bale tournament. I don't know if you guys know the Bale tournament. It's the biggest under-19 tournament in South Africa. It's got 32 clubs. And Gray was going to be the only school that was going to compete this year in the tournament. It's just that COVID happened in March, so they canceled the tournament. But that's what I do with our first team. I put them in tournaments like St. David's, like the Bale tournament. I put them in tournaments where I know that the kids will get good exposure for professional clubs. One of the reasons why we come to the St. David's tournament because I know that in Joburg there's 6 clubs, there's professional clubs, and a lot of the players that plays in the academies plays in your tournament. Is that right, Coach? I know a lot of the kids plays in. That's why I enjoy coming to St. David's, because I know that there's scouts that's coming. I know there's people from the university that's coming. And our boys will get an opportunity, not just to play in the tournament, but to be scouted by, because it's a good tournament, because of the quality of the teams that you have. You got Norcom, you got teams that can play football. You got teams that clubs are interested in. You know, they come out, the scouts, they come out. That's why we come to St. David's, for no other reason, because that it's a very, very good tournament. And I enjoy St. David's because it gives us the quality of competition that we need as a school. Yeah, but we were going to be the only school. Sorry, we were going to be the only school in the history of the Bale tournament that was going to, after the School of Excellence, but Gray was going to be the only school this year out of 32 schools, out of 32 clubs. We were going to be the only school. Cool.
Manala, last question.
Yes.
Hi, sir. Just to ask, sir, what opportunities are there for us to potentially go and trial maybe at the Super Sport Academy, sir?
Coach Clinton and Coach Luke, that is your responsibility to set those things up for the kids. I think if you know and you identify kids that you think can step up and at least make the squads for the academies in Johannesburg, take the kids there, organize, tell them, find out when is the trials. I know with super sport it's a bit difficult, and all these teams when they have open trials, you have like 2,000 kids. I remember the one the one day there was trials. We started at 6:30 in the morning. We finished at 7:30 in the evening. There was like 2,000 kids. And from that whole group of kids, they only chose, obviously they chose 40 players. And then we ended up only choosing 3 players from 2,000 to make the academy. So it's a big thing. But for opportunities, I think the coaches must find out when the trials is. The other thing is, and it's open. You tell me, you say, Coach Luke and Coach Clinton, tell me, there's boys that you think that can play. Can we organize? I've got the contacts of the people. We can call them. We can say, listen, St. David's is going to bring 2 or 3 players that they think that you can look at. When can they come? It's easy. You go to Pretoria. You drive to Pretoria one afternoon, whatever. The Gautrain makes it even easier. You can get onto the Gautrain because that's what SuperSport does. Boys come from Joburg, get onto the Gautrain, get off in Pretoria, they get picked up. So when there's opportunities for the boys, the coaches must be aware of it and tell the boys. And just remember, coaches, whenever someone asks you to pay for the trial, don't go, because you're just gonna lose your money. Yeah, don't go. Trials is free. Any club or anyone that does trials, it's for free. So Manala, I think the coaches and whoever, listen, keep your ear on the ground, listen to when there's trials and go. It's open. Trials is free. So if you feel that and you believe that you can play football and you can compete and you've got the right mentality, then go for it. Solely, coaches, you can call me. I've got the contacts. We can set up the thing. I don't want anything. I don't want nothing. It's up to you guys. It's nice that the school also can get recognition. If you have 1 or 2 boys that's playing for professional clubs, academies, it gives the school recognition, because then what happens is the scouts, they are aware, oh no, St. David's has got this player that's playing for Kaiser Chiefs, whatever. Maybe there's more players. Now you have scouts coming to the school, and when those things happen, when the player signs, it all comes back to the school. It comes back to who coached you at school, and all of a sudden Kaiser Chiefs wants to give 50 Nike balls to the school, all those things. So when there's trials, go for it. But if you need to bypass other people, call me. Call people that can give you the trial. But yeah, it's available and it's free, and we can set it up if you feel you're good enough.
Thank you, sir.
Coach,
No problem. Yes, sir.
thanks so much for your time. I find it incredibly refreshing and motivating to see a South African coach that's willing to share of their time and their ideas. I think even at the beginning you spoke about getting your coaches qualified and also getting coaches in the community qualified. And I think if we all grow together, that's the only really the way that we're going to grow, if we grow our competition as well as ourselves. So yeah, I really appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you. Looking forward to seeing each other face to face when this is all over. Eh?
In the final.
Yeah, in the final.
Listen, coaches, thank you so much, and everyone that is online, thank you so much, coach. But honestly, I would not come to St. David's if the level of the tournament and the intensity and the quality is not there. Then I would not go. We get invitations from all over South Africa to come to tournaments, school tournaments, and I declined. We've got 3 tournaments on our every year. It's the Wynberg tournament, which is in March. It's the Enzen tournament, which is here in Bloemfontein, and it's St. David's. Those are the 3 tournaments that's major and top priority for us as a school, because that's where I know that we get the biggest competition. So keep up with the good work. You guys you've got a good team. the only problem that we have now is that we've got a gap between our first team of this year and the next ones that's coming. And I think if I was at the school earlier, we could have fixed that. So yes, you have your first team, but don't forget about the under 15s. Don't forget about the under 13s. Because those are going to be the next first team. The team that we brought last year to St. David's, the under 15 team. There's 5 kids that's going to play that's playing in the first team this year. And from this year's under 15 team for next year, there's already 5 kids that's going to play in the first team, and they're only 14 and 15 years old. So don't be scared. And I want to leave you with this words, Coach. I used to work with Coach Copper. He's the technical director at Supersport Academy. He said to me this thing. He says, Ricardo, I will never fire you for losing a game at the academy. He says, because the most important thing is that we produce players for the first team. He says it's not the results that count in the academy, it's the results that count in the first team. So my encouragement for you coaches, don't be scared to play boys that's 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds, age group above there, because that's what I've learned at Supersport is as help. There's a boy now, like I said, he's 15, he's just turned 16 now. He's playing at centre back. If you see him, you would never believe that he's 15 years old. His name is Bilal. I don't know if some of the boys might know him. His name is Bilal. He's a left-footed centre back. But he's 15 years old and he's playing under 23. He's playing under 21. He's only 15 years old. So don't be scared to lose a game at the academy. I know we want to win tournaments, but let it not be at the expense of holistic development of our kids. And I think that's important. Kids will remember you for not necessarily for winning games, but kids will remember you for changing their lives. And I think that's important. Any coach can win any game, but not any coach can change the life of a kid. And I think our kids needs to know that our coaches is there's more than results. It's about the kid. It's about giving the kid an opportunity, to grow and to grow in life. So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And anytime you guys can call me anytime. I'm not doing anything at the moment, so call me.
Okay, cool. I might hold you to that.
And anytime when you're in Bloemfontein, my fridge is always full of juice and coffee and whatever you guys are welcome to. Just bring your memory stick. I've got enough stuff for you.
Okay, great. Cool,
No
Coach.
problem.
Thanks.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your
No
afternoon.
problem. Thanks, you too. Thanks.